Hello guys, welcome to Custom Gamer. My name is Daz and this is the show where we talk about level design while playing cool maps. Today we're playing a Half-Life 2 Episode 2 level called Forest Train by Jason Gimba. This was released on the 8th of March 2014. It's a pretty impressive release, very nice to look at and with some cool gameplay to match. It's a great example of a backtracking map that changes the entire nature of the map as you come back through it on the way out. It's a great map to look at as a case study of how to do backtracking in maps, I think, because it creates two completely different gameplay experiences on the way in and on the way out, which is the best way to do it in my opinion. So let's go ahead and have a look at it. So one of the things I really like about this mod is that on the splash page for the intro, you actually see some rebels walking around in this building. And then when you start the map, they're all dead.
I got a whole train filled with City 17 refugees bound for White Forest. Unfortunately, the Combine have commandeered a train station and they're stopping everyone who comes through. I need someone to clear out the train station and override the controls so we can pass. Otherwise, well, I don't want to think about what the Combine would do to us. So, if you can hear this, please help us out.
As I was saying, they're all dead once you actually start the map, so this is obviously a rebel hideout of some kind, which is why this TV transmission comes in here. I didn't quite put this together at the start. I thought, why is this guy randomly kind of broadcasting into this house in the middle of nowhere, but it does make a lot of sense. Another thing I like is that the intro is front and center when you start the map. You can grab the gravity gun, you can have a look around this room. The TV transmission kind of grabs your attention straight away. And it gives you enough information to put some pieces together and give you a main objective, i.e. get to the train station and do something to help this train. But it leaves a lot of things ambiguous for the player to discover for themselves, like how do I get to the train station? When I get to the train station, how do I help this train pass through? There's a little bit of exploration you can do here at the start here to get some extra supplies. I like the fact that there's two pistols in this start area. So there's one as you exit the intro room on the floor, but it's kind of possible to miss it if you kind of shimmy around it. Very unlikely, but it could happen. So putting another pistol on the way into the second kind of bonus room is a great idea. And here's a nice thing. So as you come around here, you get the warning sirens that a train is coming. And of course, you were told in the intro that you need to get to a train station to help these guys out. So now you've found the train tracks and you've seen a train go by, which is telling you the direction to go to the train station. It's basically a little reminder for the player saying, hey, there's a train station over here. Remember that guy said about the train? Yeah, you probably want to go this way. It's just kind of reinforcing what the player's already heard in the intro. This whole outdoor section here is really nice to look at. Got some lovely displacements. I really like the road as well. It's not just kind of a flat surface. It's actually got like a crest in the middle. Really nice little things like that which just make the environments feel that much more realistic rather than just kind of flat plains everywhere. And so we reach our first obstacle. We've got the road flare here, kind of grab the player's attention that there's a lift going down underneath the bridge here. You can't get through this way. And this is where Jason does a nice job of introing new characters and reminding the player about mechanics. So you've got these barnacles under the bridge here, and Jason spawns a couple of zombies in here that kind of inevitably get eaten by all these barnacles here. And you know, it's completely obvious, the player can see it happening, and it reminds the player that barnacles can kill stuff, and it shows the player that the barnacles are even there in the first place. And so the main bit of gameplay here is actually dealing with these zombines. And of course, because the map has just reminded the player how barnacles work, then it's a lot easier for the player to put two and two together and actually use the barnacles to his advantage there. So it's a nice way to remind a player about mechanics without kind of beating them over the head with a stick, saying, this is how the game works. It's a really nice in-fiction way of doing it. So we've got past the roadblock. And this next section coming up here is really well thought out. So you've got a sniper in the blue building up ahead. It's blue, it really captures your attention, it stands out from the environment. And then as you come up here, this is the most natural piece of cover on this road. It's the tallest, and it gives you the most cover. And there's a disarmed mine next to it. Now, the player can use that mine as a weapon if they want, but it's mainly there to get the player to notice that there are mines in this area. The first one is a dud, so it's perfectly safe to kind of walk up next to it, but the rest aren't. Now, I really like the idea here of spawning in a couple of zombies here and there. There's only a couple, I don't think they keep on coming. But it just adds that little bit of pressure to this situation, which could have been a little bit dull otherwise, just kind of hopping from cover to cover while avoiding a sniper. We've done it 1,000 times before in Half-Life maps, but with a couple of mines and a couple of zombies here and there sprinkled around, it just adds that little bit of extra pressure, which keeps it interesting. And I really like that so far on the map, we haven't got into some crazy gunfight. It's been very much about exploration and finding supplies and working our way to the train station. It's a great piece of pacing, because the second half of the map is where it really ramps up. I think too many maps kind of throw stuff at the player almost instantly. I think a lot of the Ravenholm maps suffered from this quite a lot, where it's just zombies in your face constantly. Here you go, bro, I heard you like zombies. Have some more, have some more, have some more. The pacing felt off in a lot of them for me. I think this map's a great example of pacing done right. These guys didn't really live long enough to show it off, but there's some nice scripting here to actually present these combined Metro cops. So the door gets kicked open and the guy with the Metro stun button kind of flicks it on and then starts running at you. Of course I shot him in the face before he could do that, but on my first playthrough it was really, really cool to see. Presenting enemies is one of the main cool things you can do in Half-Life 2. There's loads of different ways you can do it, lots of scripted mechanics you can use. If you walk into a room and then just a bunch of enemies start running at you, it's not really that interesting. Half-Life 2 gives you a lot of environment interaction and kind of scripting cues that you can use to really spice up that intro for enemies. So dealing with the sentry gun's quite cool. So you've got two entrances into the room. One of them is basically directly into its field of fire. So it's really not a good idea to go that way. And then, as you just saw, the second option gives you a crate with some grenades, so it makes it much easier to take him out. There's nothing stopping you from just running into his gunfire here and flanking him, which is probably what I did the first time through the map, thinking about it. But the map rewards the player who explores all avenues, which I like a lot. I think this sentry gun gets used a little bit too much, so it's used here to kill some combined Metro cops, and it's used a lot later on. This room gets filled with soldiers on the way back. And it starts to feel a little bit samey there, but for the most part it's fine. And again, more exploration here to find some more supplies. Some of this starts to feel a little bit formulaic, like go into a side room and find a box of supplies. I feel like a lot of maps in Half-Life 2 kind of fall into this trap a little, where there's a main route, and if you go slightly off the main route into a side room, then you find supplies. And once players work out that formula, it really stops being exploration, they're just doing what's expected. So I think this map could have done a slightly better job of actually kind of making the player explore to find extra supplies. I think it's a little bit generous. Like for instance here, I've just got 100 shield. All I did was walk into a room and open a supply box and bam, 100 shields. So this area is pretty cool as well. So you've got a long corridor with two sentry guns at the end, no cover. If you're really, really good, you can aim your grenades correctly to knock them over. But I really like that there's a radiator here that you can use as cover to get up on this sentry gun. I think that's really cool. I really like the fact that the map doesn't just throw a solution at this problem directly at you. It's kind of up to the player. A couple of solutions are hinted at, but never really presented to you. And it's kind of up to you to work out how you want to proceed. You can just run directly at the sentry guns if you want. You can use grenades. If you look around and use your environment, you can grab the radiator off the wall, which is probably one of the safer solutions if you want to save grenades. But I like the fact there's lots of different options. None of them are really right or wrong. It's completely up to the player. It's a cool scenario. It's something so simple as well, but again, it's just letting the player choose how they want to deal with the problem and letting the environment, you know, handle all the solutions. I like that a lot. There's some quite hilarious voice acting here, which I'm unfortunately talking over. I do suggest you, if you play the map again, do listen to it all because it's quite hilarious. So I like the scene here, so no matter when you drop down into this room, the Combine monitor will change and he'll say Freeman and then turn it off no matter when you drop down. It's a great way to kind of give the player some impact into an otherwise completely scripted non-player interactive scene. Makes the player feel like they're actually having an effect on the world even during like cutscenes basically. I like a lot. Yes, I found the gnome. We're going to try and get him blown up. It doesn't quite go according to plan, but you know, we'll deal. And this is our train coming here. And now the Combine get very, very angry. This is where a couple of cool things happen in the map. So you start hearing the helicopter appear. You can hear a whole bunch of Combine soldiers. You can actually see a couple of them running across the bridge there. You hear the guy telling you that they got through, and now you're presented with this cool combat sequence. And while this is all going on, there's been a whole bunch of changes around the map to facilitate the flow back to the beginning. Incidentally, I think it's really, really cool that just as the beat kicks in on the music, the doors open. I think that's a great piece of scripting. A nice little moment there. And so all these big windows around the map that until now were just kind of for decoration and to let light in, they actually serve a gameplay purpose as well. So obviously the Combine gunship can shoot through the windows and get the player. Again, we saw this a lot in Half-Life 2 and its episodes, but it's a great gameplay mechanic. And again here we've got to cross this bridge on the way back. We've got new gameplay elements here. We've got some Combine hiding behind barricades, and we've now got the helicopter to deal with as well. So the entire nature of the map has been changed on the way back through. There's a lot more combat, there's a lot more Combine soldiers, and we've got this helicopter to deal with as well, which changes all of the outside areas and a lot of the interiors as well. Everywhere there's a window you have to be careful. And as we get to it, we have to fight the gunship itself in a moment. This is where we have to use the turret again. Again, you don't have to use the turret, but there's so many enemies, you get overwhelmed pretty quickly if you don't use it. I think this fight here is perhaps a little bit long. I think I would have liked perhaps a couple of Combine coming through the doors like you're seeing here. And then I perhaps would have liked to see some rappelling in through the skylights above, just to add some variety to this whole scene. Because as it stands now, it's a little bit of a clown car effect almost, where like Combine soldiers just keep running out of these doors forever. That's what it feels like. I think it just needs a little bit more variety. I think they're like parasailing in through these skylights could have been really cool. Another thing which I wasn't too keen on here is that when you walk back into this room, you hear the combine force fields turn on, but you can't see them from up here. There's actually 2 force fields in the doorways. It's really, really hard to notice. You have to kind of get closer before they kind of fade in. I mean, the first time I played this map, I didn't realise where the force fields were. I just kind of ran down the stairs and, oh, force fields, okay. It would have been nice if you could actually see them well from up here. But yeah, that's cool. That fight is really, really tough if you don't use the gun. I think I died a couple of times here on my first playthrough. Because you just get a couple of shotgunners flank you round and, yeah, goodbye. So again, the layout's changed here, so the hunter broke through this door so we can come down here, but the combine force fields stop us from going back out the way we came in. Which lets us onto the platform, and the final battle. Now this fight's pretty interesting. It's a pretty unique setup that I don't think I've really seen before. For the most part it's okay. The only issue I really have with it is that it feels like the combine helicopter's really far away for most of the fight, which makes it quite irritating to actually get hits on it with its mines. Now, I feel like the intent here was to draw the player down this alley to the end, but what ended up happening, at least for me anyway, is that I was kind of reluctant to move down the alley because, you know, I had this train coming at me every now and then, had zombies everywhere. I figured I'd just wait where I was, where I felt safe, and let the helicopter come to me, but of course it never does. That just never really sat right with me. But the whole reason for drawing the player down this alley is so that when the combine gunship is destroyed, it will break open a fence which lets the player progress upwards. And it would be really, really bizarre if the helicopter kind of was defeated on the other end of this place and then kind of flew all the way back to the end down here and then crashed into a gate, which is what it would have to do. That would be really, really strange. So I understand why it's like this, but it just felt a little bit jarring to me first time through. The train's a really cool idea. Generally clears the track of zombies for you. It's another obstacle. Yeah, I think it's like every hit you get, it retreats further down the alley. I think that's probably how it's set up. That's what it feels like after playing it a couple of times. But I just think perhaps if it had been closer at first and like really been very aggressive and come right at you and then withdrawn after a first hit or something, I think that might have felt a little better. That was a little bit dodgy there. There seems to be a phase here where he'll drop grenades below him, but won't actually throw them at you. So I had to kind of run forwards to try and grab a grenade, and then just here he started throwing them at me. Yeah, we defeat the helicopter, and as it explodes, it breaks down this barricade here, which lets us back up to the intro. So this is where the loop kind of completes, and your backtrack kind of finishes. There's a nice kind of pathing for the player here, so you've got 2 combine APCs which are new, and again we saw a whole bunch of APCs drive in when we activated the train. This just stops the player going down that route and redoing half the map for absolutely no reason. Keeps them on track to finish the map. And you've got this radio clicking sound which draws you back into the original house where the end of the map is. So yeah, Forest Train. Really, really enjoyed this map. It looks beautiful. A lot of the outside areas are great to look at, nice effects. I think some more ambient sounds would have helped a lot. Some of the outdoor areas did feel very, very quiet. I mean, there was obviously a soundscape going on with, like, you know, birds and some wind and stuff, but I think just some more wind and stuff like that could have helped a lot. And aside from a couple of issues I had with the final gunship fight, I really enjoyed all the gameplay in it. I thought it was really well presented, and I had a lot of fun playing it. Perhaps a little bit too much of that sentry gun part, but you know, what can you do? Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you found this video interesting and enjoyable, and I will see you next time.